Since the COVID pandemic swept into Oregon, nearly 1 million people have become sick with the virus. For most of us, the sickness was unpleasant and then it passed. But for others, getting sick from the virus was only the beginning.
Yeah, it's been a long haul.
We have to accept that it may not be what it was.
But there's a lot of people that are really suffering with ongoing symptoms.
But every patient you have to take one at a time.
Long COVID, symptoms that stick around months after the infection, still torments tens of thousands of people in Oregon. According to the Census Bureau, more than 15 million Americans currently have some form of long COVID. 244,000 of those people live in Oregon.
Not a totally steady day, is it?
Not really.
Not your steadiest day.
Yeah, something about the light.
Tom Morse has long COVID. He lives in Lake Oswego with his wife, Chris.
Thank you.
He never had days like these until he got COVID in February of 2022. In his younger years, he rode his bike across America. As he aged, only the type of the bike changed. He also cruised the Tualatin River with Chris, hiked on Mount Hood, and dreamed up new adventures all the time. And how you doing?
Okay. Kind of dizzy, light's a little bit affecting. This will probably wear me down a bit, so I nap 2 times a day. Now it's a lot better, only about 30 minutes, maybe an hour, depending on what goes on. Any input, and it goes sideways.
Now his balance is constantly off, and bright lights are difficult. It's been that way since he got his mild case of COVID, and the debilitating symptoms took hold.
We fought like heck to get a really good neurologist with Kaiser, and they've helped with vision. I mean, my eye input is now balanced with these, I call them my magic glasses. I never wore glasses. These are not leaving my face because they make it easier to see somehow. The right and left eye are balanced. The brain doesn't have to work as hard. It seems like all of this stuff somehow makes the brain work harder, or something's going on neurologically.
Carolyn Manning can relate.
Today I'm a little tired, but of course I'm a little jacked up too for the interview. So
yeah. Carolyn lives in Portland and got her COVID case early, before vaccinations were available, way back on March 26th of 2020.
I wasn't hospitalized. I had what seemed like a really bad flu. And nobody I knew had got it. So and the news wasn't talking about the light cases. They just said, you'll either get a light case, it'll be like the flu, or you're gonna die.
Carolyn uses the name Carolyn Ball on Facebook. She took to social media to document her COVID journey. On March 26th, she announced to the world that she had tested positive.
I started posting on Facebook for my friends an update every day so that they would also know what this experience was, because we weren't getting that information anyplace else.
4 days later, a hopeful sign. Her fever of 103 had broken, and she posed for the camera, writing she can't talk because it makes her cough, but she's coming out of the COVID hole. Still, behind the scenes, she was living with the constant cough, headaches, diarrhea, and extreme fatigue.
And so tired. All I wanted to do was sleep. And one of the biggest problems when you're sleeping all the time is that you aren't drinking anything. So there's the dehydration. So I had to learn to drink Gatorade, which is not my favorite. And then the loss of smell and the loss of taste. That was profound.
By mid-April, she still felt crummy, but posted this picture of some favorite snacks, even though she couldn't taste any of them. At the 1-year mark, she'd had some ups but more downs, and had to admit on Facebook, now here it is, 1 year later, I'm still not over it. Pictures from her earlier life capture the moments that seem gone for now. Once the leader of a wine club and a cooking school, and a client support manager at a tech company, Carolyn had to step back from life as a fog enveloped her brain.
And it is the mental equivalent of coming around the corner at 60 miles an hour and hitting a fog bank with your high beams on, where just all of a sudden I can't see how to resolve what's in front of me. So annoying.
Unable to focus and often exhausted, she eventually went on short-term disability at work and then long-term. It's unclear if she'll ever be able to return.
Carolyn is Carolyn's a great person, and
Dr. Eric Herman leads the Long COVID program at Oregon Health and Science University. He is also Carolyn Long's COVID doctor. She gave us permission to talk with him about her case to help you better understand the issue.
So she was one of those persons that was having significant fatigue, and she was also having those episodic flares of these allergic type symptoms. And it can be very confusing to understand all these symptoms if you're not used to seeing it. And so we were able to understand that she had this mast cell activation syndrome and she was experiencing post-exertional malaise.
Mast cell activation syndrome causes a person to have repeated and severe allergic symptoms that affect several body systems. Post-exertional malaise means she was exhausted, even after the slightest physical activity. Together, they are a nasty combo. COVID apparently sparked them both.
So we were able to get her on some medicines to try to help these types of symptoms that seem to have been improving. And she also was able to understand how to control her energy better, how to find that sweet spot of her energy zone so that she didn't go crash and that she was able to sort of build some stamina. And she too has found that by improving her stamina and her energy conservation, many of her symptoms are starting to improve and she's seeing some light at the end of the tunnel.
But Carolyn is far from cured, and tens of thousands of others in the Northwest still struggle with long COVID. Dr. Herman is part of a national research team of scientists and doctors like him working with patients, trying to figure out what's going on.
There certainly seems to be, once an individual gets infected with the virus, the spike protein can do some pretty dramatic things. It can cause inflammation, changes in the immune system. It can disrupt the way that the body sort of regulates its autonomic nervous system. It can lead to sort of unexpected microclots and others. So sometimes there's also a belief that there may be a reservoir of the virus hiding in locations in the body, like shingles, how that can reactivate. Maybe the COVID virus is hiding and it's able to reactivate. So there's a lot of ongoing investigation to understand that.
Dr. Rebecca Kennedy with Kaiser has also seen the impacts in patients.
I have a patient that described it as feeling like her body was injected with lead, and just this heaviness and just feeling like you can't do anything. So this really profound fatigue.
Dr. Kennedy leads Kaiser's long-term COVID program. She too is looking for any hopeful treatments. She's following research that suggests at least some of the problem may reside in the autonomic nervous system that Dr. Herman mentioned. It runs the automatic parts of our body, things like breathing, heart rate, circulation. The COVID virus may do something to throw it all out of whack.
And more the information is supporting this idea that it's sort of a reset of the autonomic nervous system after someone gets long COVID. And so their nervous system sort of gets stuck in hyperdrive mode. So it's sending down all these signals that's creating all this change in the function of the body.
Dr. Kennedy says the brain could be sending out false signals to the body, creating real impacts to organs and elsewhere. She says it's still early in the research, but she thinks the idea is promising.
I mean, it's a big problem for those patients, and it's absolutely critical that the medical community address it.
It's unclear what the future holds for long COVID patients. Dr. Herman says there is hope, both for long COVID patients and for others with conditions that don't have an obvious cause or cure.
So I think that it's very hard to show someone, I don't have much energy and it's not my fault. Yeah. Or I'm having inflammation type of pain all over my body and we can't find the biomarker that explains it. And so by understanding these patients who are clearly suffering and improving with the right support, we're able to show them there's light at the tunnel, and we can hopefully improve treatment courses for chronic fatigue syndrome, fibromyalgia, and maybe other autoimmune disorders that people are suffering from.
Carolyn Manning can smell again, and it's time to get back to living.
At this point, I can't promise myself that it's going to be different, that I'm going to go back to what I was. So I'm moving ahead. I'm no longer on hold. That's why I connected with the OHSU long COVID program and am pursuing some kind of a future dealing with the hand that I've been dealt.
Tom and Chris are thinking about moving on as well to whatever their future holds.
There's definitely a mourning process. You can't.
I hope so.
We know that the future's brighter now than it was a year ago, but we have to accept that it may not be what it was.
Such a hard journey for so many people. And that's why we wanted to bring you this story, to remind you it's still a real problem for millions of Americans and over 200,000 Oregonians. It seems like a huge number. It may seem like the pandemic's over, but it's not. Still, we're not doing daily updates on the number of infections or deaths anymore, and numbers are lower, but there are still people getting really sick from COVID, and people are still dying from it. For example, the New York Times reports that 47 people died from COVID in Oregon in just the 6 days between April 6th and April 12th. That's 47 families that lost a loved one in the span of less than a week. And if you have COVID, we want you to know you're not alone, especially if you have long COVID, and you're not forgotten. There are a lot of people around the world working on this problem. In the meantime, OHSU tells me they have 1,200 patients in their long COVID program with another 200 on their waiting list. You need a referral from your doctor to apply to the program. You can get more information on the OHSU website. Just search OHSU Long COVID and you'll find a page with step-by-step instructions. Finally, are you struggling with long COVID? Do you know someone who is? Send us your thoughts and your stories, will you? The email is thestory@kgw.com. You can also call and leave a voicemail. The number is 503-226-5090. I look forward to hearing from you.